Hey guys, so today we are going to see how to create custom MLOs for RedM or RDR2. In this tutorial, I'm going to use Solims for creating the models and collisions, but due to some weird issues with the RedM collisions made using the Solims, I'm also going to use 3ds Max to fix the collision issues. So let's get started. I have this custom exterior. Actually, it's not custom, I've just renamed it. It was actually imported from GTA 5 and I'm going to use this, but you can create your own models from scratch, that's no issue. And I've also created the MLO shell right here. As you can see, I have made all the cutouts and aligned the interior according to this door frame cutout. I'll also be providing some FPX which you can import and create the doors. I've tried to match the RDR door size, so you can use the FPX to match the door sizes. It's not pinpoint, but it's extremely close. The GTA doors are a little bit bigger than RDR, so I've just made some changes. So right now, this model the exterior actually already has the collision and the model. So as you can see, this is our shell and this is our collision, and if I just hide the model, you can see this is our collision. I recommend you to watch some tutorials on how to create custom models and collisions for GTA 5 using Solims, which will really help you in creating the MLOs too. Actually, Solims is pretty nice, but due to some weird issues, it is not fully compatible yet with RedM. So I'm going to proceed with our shell right now. Right now it's just a plain model in Blender. I have renamed it to MLO tutorial shell, and what we are gonna do right now is to just create a drawable. Right now I've selected my shell, just click the create drawable, and here is a drawable. What I'm also going to do is fix our shaders. I'm going to convert it to a normal shader, and I'm also gonna embed all the textures for this tutorial. It is actually easier. You can use external dictionaries, that's not an issue, but for the sake of tutorial, I'm just gonna embed all the dictionaries. You can also use the set all textures to embed it. I'm just gonna select each texture and just click on select all textures, set all textures and it's embedded, and just verify it once if the embedded box is selected or not, because there's some weird issue that it doesn't enable the embedded right away. So you can see, I'm just gonna click it once again. Just make sure all the textures are embedded. Specular, default, normal, the rest all seems to be embedded. So what we're gonna do is we are also going to use this shell to create our collision. So if you go to collision tools, create bound, and make sure to uncheck the replace original file. So just select the model and create bound. Now hide the exterior again and rename our shell to MLO tutorial call, which represents our collision. Just gonna hide and fix the name. So this is our shell and this is our collision. I'm just gonna hide the shell for now. And to our collision, what we're gonna do is remove the texture, create collision material, and create any of the collision material. It's better to just stick with default and concrete and few of the selected ones. I'm just going to use concrete, and I'm going to create another one. Let's say wood large, and this. And for wood large, I'm going to assign the collision material to the floor. So let me just select the floor, and we're going to use wood solid for our floor. Go to Solims and select the room ID as 1. And with BVH, we're gonna give it a preset flag. We can just select to make sure all the textures are assigned properly. Yep. So this is our collision, and this is our MLO shell. What you also want to keep in mind is that we just click over this arrow and select face orientation, and right now our faces are outside, so we are going to flip our faces. So all these blue boxes for the MLO shell should be inside and red should be outside. So if you just tab, go to edit mode, select all the faces and press Alt 10 and then flip. So now all our red faces are exterior and blue are interior. We're gonna do the same for our collision shell. Let's just hide this. Select all the faces, press Alt 10, flip. And now you will see both our faces are inside and the flipped faces are outside. Let's disable the face orientation. And this is our shell. And if you just hide the collision, this is how it looks from the inside. So let's just export the collision and our exterior. Let me just make sure I've given the collision flag to it. Drawable tools, collision tools, flag preset, and flags. Be great. Now what we can do is just export our exterior only. Let me just select the hierarchy, export, CodeWalker XML. I'm just gonna go to our MLO tutorial shell folder, uncheck the use parent transform and click on the selected objects and select the export with YTYP. Gonna take a moment since the collision was duplicated, and let me just go to the folder right here, and here we have our MLO shell and this is our YTYP, and in the YTYP we only have our MLO exterior. So now we can just hide our MLO exterior, and coming back to our MLO shell, which is actually the most important thing over here. What we can do is now create an archetype definition. So just create YTYP. We're gonna rename it to MLO tutorial. Now select our MLO tutorial shell and make sure that the base is selected from the drop down menu, and just click on auto create. Now select our collision, MLO tutorial collision, drop down and make sure to select the MLO and auto create. I'm just gonna quickly run over the process. If you wanna make sure how to make the MLO properly, you can just follow the Solims wiki. I'll put the description for the wiki too. It's actually just making the interior or the shell for GTA 5. So you can use 3ds Max 2 and follow Toby's tutorial for creating the MLOs for GTA 5. And we're just gonna convert the MLOs and the exteriors and all the collision bounds using the RedM converter. We'll talk about it later. First, let's just create our collision. So we just go to rooms, select our collision bound and create limbo. And since we only have this room only, we're just gonna click again and rename it to main. And if you just click on show gizmo, this is our exterior total extents, MLO extents, and check it. Now what we can do is go to our entities, select our shell and add selected objects as entity. And if we just go to our rooms, select limbo and make sure selected rooms and set to limbo. For creating the portal, we're gonna select the collision bound, go into the edit mode, vertex mode, and select 4 of our vertices. Click on create portal from vertices, just show the portal. Right now the direction is this. What we're gonna do is go to rooms and make sure it is from main to limbo. Great. Now you can just hide the portal, go back again. Now we can export it. What we're gonna do is export YTYP, go to our folder, export YTYP, and now we can just select our hierarchy, both our MLO tutorial collision and MLO tutorial shell. Files, export, codewalker XML, and make sure the selected objects, disable the export with YTYP since we have already created the YTYP over here. Disable the parent transformation too and export codewalker XML. Now we have our external shell, or actually the exterior, our main YTYP for the exterior. Sorry, this is the MLO YTYP for the exterior. This is our MLO shell and MLO collision shell and our main MLO shell. And all these folders contain the embedded textures. Now what we can do is just open up the codewalker, RPF Explorer, and we're gonna import it. Let me just quickly go to our update x64 DLC packs. We're just gonna go over here and put our files. Select all the XML files and just enable the edit mode and drag and drop. Oh, another thing, we actually want to convert our textures to the DDS format. So what we're gonna do is convert all our textures to DDS. But I'll also link down the tool to convert the JPG or PNG files to DDS files. Images are converted, and now we can just import our shell again. Great, so now we have our exterior. And if we just go over here and options and show collision mesh, so this is our exterior, this is our MLO collision, and this is our MLO shell. Great. What we can also do is just import these things over here. So make sure to just drop all the YTYPes and the models in our DLC. You can just download the DLC. Toby actually has a tutorial on how to use custom DLCs to import the custom objects. If you just follow the tutorial, you'll get to it. Make sure to follow Toby's tutorial. So now we have our everything right in our DLC folder. And actually why we need a DLC folder is because we are going to import these models like our shell and our exterior in the GTA, and we're going to use some data from the GTA which the codewalker generates. So now what we can do is, probably we should open up our code worker. Now what we can do is, I have created these template files, so we can use these template files to create our MLO shell. I'll be providing these 3 files in the description, so you can use it and follow the tutorial. We're just gonna import our YTYP first. So if you just open up the YTYP, and what we can do is, you see here the MLO exterior, select the MLO exterior and replace all our MLO exteriors with the file names over here. So we have our MLO exterior .ydr, we're gonna replace the MLO exterior with ydr. And since we actually have the same names, I don't need to actually replace the names, but if you have, let's say, MLO exterior to say RedM MLO exterior, so what you want to do is select the name, make sure you have highlighted the MLO exterior part, and replace all the MLO exterior to your exterior file name. And make sure that you are using embedded textures and embedded physics dictionaries, or if you are using the external physics dictionaries and texture dictionaries, make sure to put the proper names over here. So what we can do is open up our code worker and make sure we load up the DLCs. I actually have some test coordinates, so we're just gonna use that. So once we have loaded our project, we're gonna open a new project window, select a new YMAP, select the YMAP, new entity, and since we have our MLO exterior, we're gonna select the MLO exterior and paste it over here. So now we have our exterior in code worker. So these coordinates are of RDR2, so we're gonna use these coordinates and place the exterior at these coordinates. Just click go to. So in GTA, it will be, let's say, around a pool or anywhere offset, which will not match the RDR coordinates exactly, but it will be useful calculating the data. So similarly, we're just gonna click a new entity, and we can add our MLO collision. So click add new entity, and we're gonna replace it with our MLO tutorial shell. Make sure we have our similar coordinates. Just gonna copy it and paste. So now if you notice, we have our MLO shell over here. Oops, I'm sure, I guess. Okay, so the MLO is not visible. I'm just gonna delete this once again and add the YMAP entity, paste the coordinates, copy the name, paste it. And now we have our MLO shell. The coordinate is a bit messed up. Fix the coordinates. And now we have our MLO shell. So if we just go back to our YMAP and click on calculate of flags and click calculate extents. So now what we can do is use these extents in the provided YMAP file. So click on YMAP file, open up the YMAP file, and we're just going to copy entity extents men paste it over here. Entity extends max, paste it over here. Streaming extends min, paste it over here, and streaming extends max. Now what we can do is carefully copy and paste all these values in the respective X, Y, and Z fields. So we're just gonna copy all these values over here. We actually have to do this since we don't have a proper way yet of calculating the entity extents for RedM, but since the logic is pretty much the same for RedM and 5M, so it doesn't really matter. Just remove it later. Select this and last one. Make sure to remove all the leftovers. So now we have our entity and streaming extents. So we can just probably close the code walker right now. Coming back, we have our name, and since I have the same name for the MLO exterior, but you just select the MLO exterior and replace with the exterior name. And we're gonna put this position right over here. Copy this, paste it over here for the Z. Select this and paste. Now what we're gonna do is fill up this Y type. So if we just go back and open up our Y types which we created, let's say we have created this Y type. So tutorial.ytype which we created for our MLO exterior. We're just gonna copy the BB min, BB max, BB center, and BB radius, base radius, and just paste it over here in our template Y type. Fix the paddings, or let's say fix the tabs actually, and we can just close it. Coming back to our MLO, we can open up our MLO tutorial.ytype, and here it comes the most important part. Copy the BB min, BB max, BS center, and BS radius as usual. And coming back to our MLO tutorial shell, paste it over here. Fix the padding or the tabs, whatever you wanna call it. This will always be 0, so that's not an issue. And just copy it and paste it over here. And now if you notice, we have our MLO room definition. So if you just scroll down, and here we have our rooms tag. So let's just match. We have the same name as Limbo, and we have our blank fields over here in the template BB min and BB max. We're just gonna copy the BB min and BB max and paste it over here. Fix tabs. We have actually provided the time cycle, so I'll actually also put the time cycle list, which was actually provided and discovered by, I guess, Decarbonator, if I pronounced it correctly. He actually compiled the list of time cycles which he found personally. So make sure you don't use the GTA time cycles in the RedM. So we have the same BB min and BB max. We have our portal count, which is 1. Over here, Limbo. Floor ID 0. exterior and make sure the attached is 0. Selecting the main, copy the bbmin and bbmax again, fix the tabs. We don't need to change the values and flags. We have a same portal count as 1 and everything is same. Now coming back to our portal, we have our single portal. If you have multiple portals, you can just copy paste and change the values. Coming back, looking at the 5M YTYP, I'm just gonna copy these values. Make sure to copy the first 3 values only. So let's just copy the first 3 values, paste it in the first line, copy the next 3 values, paste it over here again, copy the next 3 values again, paste it over here, and copy this and paste it over here. Now make sure that you remove all the commas. Make sure you don't have any commas over here. So there should be a space instead of a comma. And I think that's it for the YTYP. Make sure the name is set to the file name of the YTYP. So it's tutorial YTYP. Great. So I think everything is done in the YTYP and everything is done in the YMAP. Now what we want to do is export our YDRs and YBNs. So if you want to use this YDR and YBN files in RedM, we actually first need to convert it to the RedM compatible format. So first of all, just extract it. I'm just going to create a new folder and rename it to GTA models. So select our MLO exterior YDR, MLO collision YDR, YBN and our MLO shell YDR. Export it. And now what we want to do is open our RedM directory, select the RedM application data and paste all these 3 files over here. And now open up this CMD. Make sure you are in the redm.app directory. Now you need to enter //ctcon, press tab and it will automatically fill out. Space formats is to convert. And now what we want to do is input these file names. So you can just copy paste it. MLO exterior.ydr, put a space and then put the next file name, put a space again, copy the another file name, paste it again, and you can hit enter. Just wait it out, and if you just look over here the RedM application data, you will have the 3 new files with the new name changed as _ and YA at the end. So we can just copy these 3 files which was created and paste it in our stream folder in our server file. And now what we want to do is just edit each file and remove the _ and YA part. You can close the CMD. You can also close the RedM application data folder. And now we want to edit our manifest.ymap. Just select the tutorial YMAP. Make sure what your YMAP file name is and paste it over here. And replace the tutorial _ YTYP with the YTYP file name. We have it over here as same the tutorial _ YTYP and MLO tutorial collision. Make sure your collision file name is pasted over here and over here. Since we have the same name, it doesn't really matter. Just save it out, save the Y type, and we actually want to change one thing for our YMAP. Make sure the exit portal count is what you have the total portal count as in your limbo, or actually the total number of portals going from the inside to the outside. So we actually only have our one main portal, which is going from room 1 to room 0, which you can see as over here, room 1 to room 0. So we actually only have our single portal. Make sure we have our everything named correctly. Okay. Now if we want to start our RedM. Let me just close the VS Code, or my PC might just straight up crash. Start our RedM. I'm gonna enable the admin menu for myself. Let it just update and I'll just come back. And now if we just join our post, if we have done everything correctly, the 5M or the RedM should not actually crash. And if your RedM crashes while loading inside the game, you have either set the values wrong for the Y type or the YMAP. We actually want to change our collision files. So I'm just gonna show you that if we just make our or use our Solum's collision files, what are the issues which we see or face inside the RedM. So the next step is only for Solum's users or who are using Blender to create the MLOs. But if you are using Max, you should be fine at this point if you have done everything and filled the Y type correctly. And here we have our turbo launched. The game might lag. As you can see at the far distance, we have our exterior. Oops, my game lagged. Just no clip. My game is lagging hard right now. Just no clip over here. You can see that we have our exterior collision working fine, and if we go to our interior, the MLO is working fine right now in the third person. But if you go to our first person, oh, it is working fine right now. So hopefully it should be working fine for you. The thing which I was facing earlier is the interior was disappearing due to incorrect floor ID, but I guess the code worker or the Solums was actually updated recently, and I also bumped up my Blender version to 3.1, so it should be fine. As you can see, we have our collisions and everything. Let me just change the time. And yep, there is still the issue. As you can see, our MLO has disappeared in the first person. The issue is actually not yet solved. So we actually now need to fix the issue of interior disappearing. Let me just show you that how the collision reacts with the gun. As you can see, the collision is missing at some portions right now. So if you see, the collision is absent over here, but it is over here at the floors or at the walls. Collision isn't over here, collision is over here, but collision isn't over here. And if we try to switch in the first person over here, the interior disappears. As you can see, the MLO is working fine in the third person, but not in the first person. So let's just go ahead and fix it. I'm just gonna save out my Blender file and close it. And now we can just launch our 3ds Max to fix our collision issue. So what we want to do is go back to our original GTA models which we exported from CodeWalker, and we want to edit this YBN file. So to edit the YBN file, we use OpenIV to extract the collision to open formats. I'm gonna go and extract our collisions. So this was our MLO collision, as you can see. So we're just gonna export it to open formats. We're just gonna select our MLO tutorial folder and extract it. Open up our 3ds, start the game Evo, import, and we're gonna select our MLO tutorial and collision, import. And if you see over here right now, we have our MLO shell. So what we want to do is just select our MLO, go into the edit mode, select the edible mesh, select the faces, select all the floor faces actually, I'm actually pretty bad with 3ds Max. Just gonna quickly select. So we have selected our the floor faces, as you can see. And what we want to do is open our GIMS material editor. You see the wood large. And what we can do is just either replace this material, or we can use the current material and again select the faces, go down and select the material again and assign it. And if you open up our material editor, select our material, make sure the room ID is 1, just reapply the material once. For the same, we can do the faces, make sure the concrete and room ID can either be 1 or be 0. For this tutorial, I'm just gonna set the room ID to 1 and just reassign the material. Make sure to reassign the material to all the faces of the walls and the roof. So what we can do is just select all the roof and the wall faces and assign the material again. And once you have reassigned the materials, you just put out from the edit mode and re-export our collision. So just export MLO tutorial. Okay, make sure to export, continue, and we can now just re-import our exported file. So this is our exported file. Enable the edit mode and re-import the YDR. Oh, sorry, YBN actually. And this is our collision file. So if we just re-extract it again, put it on our GTA models, copy and replace, and now we want to reconvert our collision. So just open up the RedM location, open file location, go to our RedM application data, and what we want to do is copy our exported collision file again, copy and replace. Now open up our command, open up our command prompt, criticon.com, formats is to convert, and just copy and paste the file name. Wait for a second. Once it's converted, find the file name. It is MLO tutorial :_NYA. So this is our new file. NYA. This. Where did it go? Oh my god. This is our file. So we're just gonna copy it again and paste it in our stream folder. Delete our older collision file and rename it to just collision, and rename and edit out the _NY. So if we just start the server again, launch up our RedM, start our resource, start my admin panel, now we can try to see if the fixes work fine or not. We actually don't need to change anything in our YTYP and the YMAP, since we are actually just reassigning the materials and re-exporting and converting the models. Once we have loaded in our game, I'm just going to change the time. Again, lagging right now. Just no clip. And now if we try to go on our first person, now it works fine. So let's just also test the gun collision. As you can see, the floor has collision at the missing part too. When we first tested it, the first collision, there was no collision. So as we can see, the collision is present right now and the walls too, and the floor, since there was no collision on this part, but now it has. So there's some weird issue with the Solims assigning the floor ID or RedM actually, or the converter might be the RedM converter, which converts the model, might have some issues converting the floor IDs, which was the files which are exported using Solims and Blender. But now it works fine. As you can see, we can change to FPP without any issue in any part of the MLO. You can just place the interior on the floor, and for placing the interior, what we can do is use spooner, and we can just select our models and put in our FX manifest data files, and we can use spooner to place the exterior at, let's say, on floor, and then you can use that coordinates to place the interior and the exterior and calculate the extents in CodeWalker as usual and place the interior at that location. I'll also make a tutorial on how to place interior props, since there's actually no CodeWalker to place the props and align the props right now, but I'll definitely make a tutorial. So yeah, that's our MLO shell working absolutely fine. So if you want to just test how the weather reacts to the interior, we can just change our weather to, let's say, a rainy or rain. I don't know what I renamed it to. So if you see outside, there it is actually raining, but on the inside it's absolutely fine. You can also change to, let's say, and the time cycle, as you can see, the time cycle color changes the interior, and actually now we have snowy weather, but interior is actually not affected. So that's it for this tutorial. Hopefully you find it helpful, and I'm just gonna try to improve it and also make a new tutorial on how to place props for MLOs, since actually the props placed in the MLOs are placed using the YTYPes. So I have actually made a tool for making the process easier for placing the props, but it's under beta right now, and there are some weird quirks with the mirror rotation. So once I get that fixed, or hopefully I just test it out properly once, I'll make sure to make a tutorial on how to place props for the interiors. That's it for this tutorial. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll see you later.